Hello, dear parent of the Capricorn child. I am here to do the June reading. I hope you are all well. Just a little heads up, dear parent, if you have been feeling a little overwhelmed and just a lot going on in your world, just know that there are a ton of astrological configurations happening currently, with the eclipse, with Saturn in retrograde, now Mercury in retrograde. There's just a lot going on, and there are a lot of shifts going on currently, a lot of fated events too. So people are separating, moving, starting new jobs. It's just a little intense out there. So I'm just letting you know this so that you are not so hard on yourself, and be gentle right now with yourself, with others. It's a wild, wild energy. Um, so know that you're not in it on your own. We're all feeling it. I'm definitely feeling it. So anyhow, yes, let's get started here. So this is for the Capricorn child. Of course, it's for the parent, but about your Capricorn child. And let's see what's going on with little one this month. Oof. Oh, baby doll, baby doll. Let's see. 10 of Swords. So there's some heavy energy happening here. You have the Six of Wands, Ten of Swords. It's potentially you've moved away. Maybe there's a whole new home you've moved to, location. There's a sense here from little Capricorn of taking on a burden, feeling heavy, potentially not being able to sleep. This is a lot of thinking going on here, a lot of overwhelming thoughts, heavy thoughts. Yet it's rooted by the Six of Wands, and the Six of Wands has a victorious element to it. There's um, it, an acknowledgement here happening at the same time. So I think what's happening here with your Capricorn child is there's sort of a disconnect between what they are actually accomplishing and the vitality and their essence. There's like a dissonance between what is actually happening and what they're thinking. And I think that potentially you have a Capricorn here who's a perfectionist and isn't truly seeing what they are creating and what it is that they are, what they have to offer, right? Because the Six of Wands is very victorious. It's about energy. It's about being acknowledged. It's about being seen. And that's what's rooting the Ten of Swords. So maybe a new acknowledgement or a new victory that your little one has accomplished has got them in their head, has got them overthinking it. Maybe they are afraid of what the consequence will be now, or what does it mean? Do they have to replicate this, whatever it is that they created and they're successful in? But there's some sort of fear associated with this. Another way that this can play out is that this yet hasn't happened, and they're in their head about whether or not they're going to be successful in something. So this is going to obviously vary depending on the age of your child, right? For some of you, it's going to be itty bitty ones dealing with very different issues from what someone who potentially, for example, a teenager, right? This could be, anything from feeling nervous that they're not going to pass a class or matriculate, or potentially that they're not going to do well in a sport, or that they're not going to do well in their friendships, right? So there's some fear, and they're really up in their head about whether or not they can get to this point of accomplishing. So let's open this up a bit and see what else is going on. So this is the challenge here and the conflict. Oh my goodness. Okay, so very similar energy. Eight of Swords. The good thing about the Ten of Swords is that it's at the end, the tail end of it. However, the Eight of Swords is very much about it even affecting your little one's sleep. Their sleep, the way they eat, the way they get around in the world day to day. Like this is just constant. It's like a dark cloud kind of hanging over them all day long kind of thing. But it's interesting because it's got the same thing going on as this, where it's rooted by a very positive card. We have the Ten of Cups here, which is about family fulfillment and, being with family and getting all our emotional needs met. So potentially the conflict here is that the emotional needs in a home are not being met somehow, or there's a fear that they're not going to be met. Maybe there's so much change happening in your household that it's got them overthinking the situation. It's almost like they're taking on more than they need to for it's like it's not their job to think about these heavy adult issues, right? But there's almost a sense that they're carrying that load for whatever reason. They think that it's something they have to take on, and there's it has something to do with either your family is either you're relocating, you're making a big shift, and it's really for the betterment of the family, right? Because you have the 10 of cups there. So whatever the shift is that you're going through as a family unit, it's for the betterment of the family, but it's tripping up your little Capricorn for some reason, because they're not feeling the stability. These cards are not about, it's quite the opposite of feeling stable. It's like unnerved and uneasy and not being able to sleep at night. And also for those of you who have moved into a new home, that can play into it too, right? Being in a new space, a new bedroom, a new environment that's different from what they're used to. And so this could be part of the issue as well. So let's see what is something you can do to alleviate this, dear parent. Yeah, so we have the Five of Wands and we have the Ace of Swords. And the Five of Wands is twofold. On one hand, it can be about um, competition, conflict, having to negotiate with others to get your way or to come to an agreement of some sort. But it's also about working together with others to, you know, with individuals who have the same goal in mind. They may do it differently. You know, the journey may be different for everybody, but everyone has the same goal in mind. And so, paired with the Ace of Swords, it's about really learning new ways of communicating. For some of you, this may be a blended family situation. And, you know, because you have the happy home and victory here. So, on one hand, for the family, it's quite positive, right? You have different hands here. You see how there's a diversity in the colors of the hands here. So for me, that also speaks of something different coming into the household or moving into an area that's more diverse than potentially your child is used to, or less diverse even. It could go either way, and that always causes conflict, right? Because it's new. It's like a child especially doesn't always know how to articulate that. And when I say diversity, it doesn't need to mean just simply race, ethnicity. It can also mean other things, like just people being different from what we are used to. There's something here that's shifted. Some of you have blended families. Some of you have married into families that are looking different than what the child is used to. And I know that's very specific, so it's only going to apply for a handful of you. But the remedy here is for you to create the blending, right? Because this is the blending card. And it's also the conflict card, right? Because when we're not used to things being a certain way, it creates conflict within us, right? And it requires effort to negotiate and come to terms with how everyone is going to do things. So there's a need here for you, dear parent, to bring about the communication between all the people involved in this dynamic. This could be classmates, it can be new family members, new neighbors, but there is a need for you to step in and facilitate, because they're all going to speak differently. Because the Ace of Swords is getting to know a new mode of how another communicates. It's either communicating in a new way that we've never communicated before. It's also about making messaging and communication accessible. So, for example, if part of the reason that little one is stressed out is because a family member has to work away from the home because that's what's going to bring betterment to the home lifestyle, then maybe facilitating a way where little one can communicate with that other parent via video call, via Zoom, however you can facilitate that. But it's also on another level, it's also about facilitating communication figuring out a middle ground for these individuals who are now either living together or living close to one another or in the same classroom that have never met before, never known how to be in the same space together, facilitating a way for everybody to be able to meet in the middle and learn their styles of communicating with one another. It's very specific, but it's definitely, look at all these swords, 10 of swords, 8 of swords, ace of swords. So there's a lot of mental anguish, conflict here, and also an inability of being able to speak about what's going on internally. But the bottom, the rooted cards here are for the benefit of the highest good. So whatever shift is going on in your family that's causing little Capricorn this anxiety is actually, there's a goal in mind. There's an end game here that's for the betterment. And, as a child, Cappy may not really see that or be aware of that. And again, this is going to play out differently, remember, depending on the age range. Okay, dear parent, let's close up here, but let's end with, let's see if there's another additional advice here in terms of how to handle this. Ah, there we go. Death card. Yeah, so it's about facilitating the change. The Death card is all about big changes. It's not a little change. This is not little time. This is about death and rebirth. It's about dying to an old identity to create a new one. And that can be as simple as moving away from one location to another to begin anew. Moving away from one relationship to another, like your relationship as a parent or parents, into another to create a better life for everyone involved, right? So this is about facilitating the change and also remembering that part of the reasons that children get anxiety when big changes happen, a lot of times it's because they're not integrated into the conversation of the change. In other words, the change happens. As adults, we make these decisions, but we forget to integrate the child into what's going on as it's going on and having the conversation with them of why it's happening and why it's important for it to happen, and that death, meaning change, because that's what the Death card is, it's change and transition, that these are all normal stages of life that need to continually take place. So this is an opportunity to teach that, right? All right. Well, I feel like you have your hands full this month, dear parent, but you're doing a great job. Keep doing it. Remember what I said at the beginning of the reading. There's a lot of crazy astrological shifts going on right now, but you're not in it alone. And just be gentle with yourself and, of course, with others involved. And good luck with this big change, whatever this is. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel, like, comment, all that good stuff. And I hope to see you back here in July. Bye.